Welcome, students. Welcome to week 8 of Study Skills. Trust you are all well. Happy shelterers out there. A couple of you have said that you really missed the Kelvin cartoon last week, and our topic today is test preparation. So here's a Kelvin cartoon that has a little bit about testing in it. That if you can see that, I'll give you a minute to read it. It's kind of cute. And of course, if we move away here and you haven't gotten a chance, you can always go back on the video and pause it and read it. But I want to make sure that if we have Kelvin cartoons, that you get a chance to enjoy them. All right, first of all, if you haven't yet printed out your class note sheet, that's this sheet right here. It's attached to the teacher's notes here with the video. And if you haven't printed that out yet, you might want to pause and take a minute to make sure you have that. You're going to need that class sheet for your notes today. Last week we talked a little bit about the Cornell note-taking system. And this system has been very helpful for a lot of people over the years. And so to remind ourselves, this is the Cornell, whoops, here we go. This is what the Cornell note-taking sheet looks like. When you have a class or you're even studying from a book. Cornell note-taking sheets are primarily a help in terms of getting ready for test preparations. So as you'll remember from last time, you have this large area right here. This is where you take your class notes. So as you're listening, you just write down your notes using your telegraph note-taking and your abbreviated word creation that we have talked about in the past. You take your best notes right there from the class. You need to make sure that you're writing quickly in this section because if you miss something, don't forget, instead of just stopping, when the teacher or the presenter is droning on and you miss something, and instead of just stopping and in effect missing all of the rest, what you want to do is leave a space. You're rolling along here, you miss something, you leave a space here and then pick it right up. And then later what you would do is you would check either with another classmate or the teacher and make sure that you have a complete set of notes. And then at the end of the class, you want to read it, you want to reread or re-scope all this and fill in anything excuse me, that you might have missed. Then in this left column here, this is what we call memory cues. And remember what we do here is later at your leisure, when you get home or whatever, after you've taken a bunch of notes, maybe several Cornell note sheets that have notes in the note section here, what you want to do is you want to reduce all the major points over here in this note-taking section into some kind of memory cue. And remember how we talked about that? This is either a key word or a key phrase or a symbol or a stick figure. Any way, some picture that you could put up there in order to stimulate a mental snapshot of the important points over here. This step forces you to sort of reconfigure information into a form that fits you, into a form that reminds you, that works for you. You want to do that in kind of align it up with how you think about things. So you're totally free when you're creating memory cues to represent main points. You're totally free to make that process really fit you. A little scary, but it'll be fun. This part over here helps you to solidify a mental snapshot of the important points that are in your notes. And always remember to make these cues your own. And if you were doing your review using your memory cues and it just doesn't work, well, you just create another one, change it, cross it out, make another one. So yeah, when you do your memory cue review, remember what you do is you cover up, either with your hand or a piece of paper, you cover up your notes so that it kind of forces you to focus on the memory cues and force yourself to recall the information using the memory cues. Okay, so then you get home that night and you think, okay, I want to review my notes for today, and how can I do that in a way that's just different from rereading the notes in my notebook? And that's the idea of covering the right side with your hand or paper, and then using your memory cue, the recitation idea for your memory cues. And this is where you would recite out loud. Remember, we talked about the almost magical way of learning and remembering and recalling things by actually looking at a piece of information, formulating in your mind, putting it into words that you say out loud. You listen to your own voice, and that helps to really instill it deep into your memory, and also helps you when you go to recall it, because you've already heard yourself say it. It's almost like a mental snapshot of sound, that you can kind of recall, that'll help you remember things. And this is called, don't forget, when you cover this up and you do your memory cue review, remember that it's called a memory cue review. And it's primarily, all of this is primarily for test preparation. This will help you. Then in this bottom area, we didn't talk about that a lot last time, but in this bottom area, once you've filled in your notes and you've filled in your memory cues and you've done a memory cue review or two, then you want to go down here and kind of summarize in your own words. Right here where it says summary. You want to summarize the main points in your own words down here in the summary. So again, test preparation, it's helping you to kind of take the bigger picture and write out a quick summary, a few sentences or phrases that kind of summarize the main points up here. And then what you want to do is you can also create your own possible test questions. So you can think about, well, okay, in this information over here, what, for example, if it's list words or things like that, that's those are the kind that kind of signal for teachers. Oh, I'm going to make a multiple choice question out of this, or those kind of things. So you could create your possible test questions on that information in all forms that you feel you might find it on a test or a quiz. And sometimes it's helpful to back on the topic of presentation styles. If you've had tests or quizzes already from this teacher, or you just sort of know how this teacher thinks about what's important, then you can create those kind of test questions based on the presentation style of your particular instructor. And then the way the further way that you can use your Cornell note-taking system. Let's say you've got several sheets of Cornell note sheets, and you're now ready to do a little more in-depth review for a test. So you've got you take these. Remember, one of the advantages of taking a loose leaf notebook and where you can take sheets in and out. You take the sheets out, and you can once you review each sheet, you can then begin to lay them out, kind of like this, and you put them in the right order. In other words, the first sheet, second sheet, third sheet, like so, fourth sheet like this, and then as these are now on a desk or a tabletop, and now you're using these sheets to do a bigger review. So you'd do your memory cue review here, and then move straight over to a memory cue review here, memory cue review here, memory cue review here, and you're covering a larger amount of material, but you're forcing yourself to put these all together in one line like this. So again, you're using this for test preparation. You're saying, okay, I've got a test coming up. I'm gonna do as much of a memory cue review as I possibly can over all the material without looking at the notes, so that I can get as much, I can sink it as deep as possible into my head. So then, let's say, okay, I think I got it. I think I've got these notes down. The next thing that you may want to do is again cover up your notes, but leave your, I guess I better start this down here a ways. You cover up your notes, but you leave your summaries and your memory cue reviews visible. So you'd set up your Cornell note sheets like this. Once you've had a good session of memory cue review, and now you're ready to do a little bit deeper review for the test. So here you can do the memory cue review still this way, but at the same time you can look down here and say, okay, I'm going to now, after I've done the memory cue review here, I'm going to verbally sort of talk through my own created summary and my own possible test questions, and then I'll do the memory cue review, then I'll do my summary review, then memory cue, summary, memory cue, summary. And again, this is sort of your second wave of putting this stuff deeper, because you're now using the summaries deeper into my memory so that I'm ready for the test. And then maybe just before you walk into the test, you can do what's called a summary review. Actually, you want to start with you want to start up here with your page 1, and then page 2 would be here. Page 3 would lay out like this, and then page 4, assuming you've got 4 pages, you'd lay them all out a little bit like this. And then just before the test, or just before you walk into the exam, you would lay them out like this and just do summary review, summary review, summary review, summary review. It's all in the right order, and you've already learned most of all the material by your memory cue reviews, and the summary reviews can really help you prepare for possible test questions, and also to just freshly summarize the information that you have to have for the test. Okay, so now it's time to take out your note-taking sheet. And that is this one. So take out your note-taking sheet, and what we're going to talk about here briefly is just strategies for successful test preparation. How to get ready for a test. How to get ready for the test. Well, you start by getting as much information. Begin by getting as much information as possible about the test from your instructor. So by getting as much information, INFORMATION, about the test from your instructor. The idea there is that he or she has already written this test and has a pretty good idea of what's on it, what's important, what form it's in, what kind of questions are on this test. So you want to badger this instructor, this teacher, to spill everything that you can possibly get out of them about this particular test. So you want to ask the instructor all your questions about any information you're not sure of. So again, you want to ask the instructor again, or teacher. You can write in there TEACHER. So you want to ask the instructor any questions about anything, any information you're not sure of. And the idea there is this is your chance. You'd start out, if there were things that you're not sure of or not clear or don't really understand fully in preparation for this test, now is your chance. Ask the instructor. Make them go over it again. Often they're going to do it in almost a tailored way because they've just written the test. They know what's on it. They're going to give you the answer often in some form that it's going to come on the test. And so you want to listen carefully, get as much information as you can from the instructor about things that you don't understand. And then get the teacher to provide his or her answers. I don't know if that's get the teacher to provide his or her answers. The way you do that is if there's points that you understand that are important, that you want to clarify and make sure that you get it straight from the teacher, get them to answer the questions that maybe you had in your summary, so that even the terminology that they want to see, you're going to hear from them as they answer your questions. Get the teacher to spill and reveal as much as possible. Ask specifically about this test. Make sure that all your questions relate to the test that's coming. You want to know about this test, THIS, okay? And then what specific, where am I here? What specific material does the test cover? One of the best questions that you can ask the teacher is specifically, what material does this test cover? Specifically. And so that forces them to sort of retell the most important points. When they're retelling the most important points, they're spilling answers. They're telling you what's most important to them and as it relates to this test. So you say, well, what exactly is on this test? What specific material does this test cover? How much, wait a minute. What specific material, material, what specific material does this test cover? And then, you just milk that because you're going to get golden information from the teacher. You want to specifically ask, does it cover class discussions? What about homework assignments? What about our readings? What about projects? You want to ask, what material does it cover? And you want to be as specific as you can. Because if you say, well, does it cover the information that we did on our projects? Often the teacher will say, oh, no, it doesn't cover projects. Those were sort of independent things that we went over in class. No. So you want to get them to tell you everything that you need, everything you can about this test. Another question that's very important, or very good to ask is, what areas are not on the test? That's a fair question. They might not answer it, but it's a fair question. So you say, well, what's not on the test? And see if you can say, and if they say, well, almost everything, then if you had questions, just say, well, what about this? What about this? What about this? And very often, because they want you to do well, and they're communicators of information that they want you to remember at heart, they can't resist spilling information that will help you. Okay, another important question to ask is, how much is this test worth toward my final grade? How much is this test worth? WORTH. And the reason you ask that is that can be really important. If the teacher says, look, it's 50%, this final examination is 50% of your final grade. Wow, well, I have got to do my memory cue reviews and my summary reviews, and I've got to get this down because this is a biggie. If the teacher happens to say, well, because we had the midterm exam and we had quizzes and we had homework, etc., so it's only going to be worth about 5% of your final grade. Well, that doesn't mean that you don't prepare, but it does mean if you're going in there with a really solid A, what you realize is, as long as I do okay on this test, I'm going to be okay. So, at number 2 here, it says, make sure you have a clean set of notes to study. Again, this is getting ready for take a test. Make sure you have a clean, CLEAN, make sure you have a clean set of notes. Make sure that you check with a friend or you work together in a study group to make sure that your notes are as clean as possible. And sometimes just going over and reviewing for a test with a friend or a study group can really help. Every once in a while you'll realize, oh my goodness, I don't have what you have. I messed up. I didn't catch that right. So now, you want to make sure you end up with a clean set of notes in order to study. So you want to check with a friend, you want to work together to compare your notes if you can. And then make sure your notes agree, again, with any source that you can find, with the teacher, with your study buddy, or with your study group. Make sure your notes agree, A-G-R-E-E, and use that time to clean up your notes. Again, a study group, golden. Or even over the phone, or you can set up a Zoom group, or you can do FaceTime or whatever, because the tests are important. So you want to use that time to clean up your notes. And then number 3, pace yourself, P-A-C-E, pace yourself in preparation. Pace yourself. A little bit each day is worth far more than an all-nighter the night before. Nobody disagrees with that. No research disagrees with that. A little bit here, a little bit there, until you go into the test fresh, is far more valuable than staying up all night the night before because you put it off too long. All right, you remember it also is very helpful to use your Cornell note sheets for daily review. Again, it just helps you to get ready for tests because you're doing your memory cue reviews, so that when you come test time, you're just doing summary reviews and memory cue reviews, just quick ones, because you're pretty much ready already. And number 4, make the best use of your fellow classmates. C-L-A-S-S-M-A-T-E-S. Make the best use of your fellow classmates. All right, those are some helpful hints on test preparation. We'll talk a little bit more about that next time. The thing to remember is you've got homework. So you should have already printed that out and know what your homework is. What you want to do is you want to sit down and go through your homework, do your homework assignment. And remember, that homework assignment is due by next Wednesday, April the 2nd. I'm sorry, Thursday. By next Thursday, April the 2nd. You can send it in earlier, no problem. Email it to me. And on the homework sheet, it has my cell phone number if you have questions, but it also has my email. So if you when you do your note-taking sheets here, just take pictures of them with your cell phone and just send them to me by email. And that'll help me. I'll check them all off, and that'll help you keep your grade up. There's one or two of you, I've heard from every student except for one of two of you to confirm that you're able to get on the teacher's notes and that you're getting the videos and all. If you haven't directly confirmed with me by email, just take a minute. If you're listening to this and you're able to download the note sheets and the homework, just take a second to email me and say, Mr. Smith, I'm in, I'm getting the videos, I'm able to print out the sheets. That way, I know we're all together, and we're all together in this, and we'll go week by week and soldier on. If you have questions, email me or give me a call. Wash your hands and stay safe.